She walked in with no invitation, a woman marked by scandal, shame, and sin. In her trembling hands, a jar of alabaster, sealed with oil worth a fortune. But it wasn't the oil that filled the room that night, it was the weight of her past, and the fire of her love. While the religious judged her, Jesus saw her. Forgiven. Seen. Restored. This is not just a story, it's a collision between disgrace and grace. And what happened in that Pharisee's house would echo through eternity. Welcome to Mindful Musing, a journey with God, where faith comes alive, and every story reminds us that the God of yesterday is still the God of today. Here, we dive deep into the untold wonders of Scripture, immersive, emotional, powerful. Stories that stir your spirit, ignite your faith, and draw you closer to the heart of God. Subscribe now and join the journey, as we step into one of the most astonishing moments in all of biblical history. The air was thick with the scent of power and piety. In a Pharisee's home, where appearances mattered more than hearts, a feast was laid before the rabbi named Jesus. Men in robes, voices polished with law and tradition, sat comfortably at the table. But beyond those walls, in the shadows, was a woman. Known only by her past. A sinner. Yet she heard Jesus was near. And something in her broke. With her most valuable possession in hand, she moved toward the house, not as a guest, but as a storm of devotion ready to break every rule. This is her story. The courtyard buzzed with quiet anticipation. Servants moved like shadows, arranging platters of figs, roasted lamb, and golden bread upon a long, low table. Torchlight flickered against stone walls as evening settled over the home of Simon the Pharisee, a man respected, influential, and devout. Tonight, he had extended a bold invitation. Not to a fellow Pharisee or priest, but to the controversial rabbi from Nazareth. Jesus. Simon's lips curled into a thin smile as he welcomed his guest. He bowed politely, but without warmth. There was no kiss on the cheek. No water offered to cleanse tired feet. No oil to anoint the head of this traveling teacher. His welcome was formal, not heartfelt, curious, not reverent. Jesus entered quietly, his eyes calm, scanning the room not for status, but for sincerity. He reclined at the table with the ease of a man unbothered by social ranks. Around him, other Pharisees settled in, murmuring greetings, watching him closely. Every word he'd say, every move he'd make. This wasn't just dinner. It was a test. An investigation cloaked in hospitality. Outside the home, the town was winding down. Lamps were being lit. Doors were being bolted. But not far from Simon's house, a woman stood still in the shadows. Her name isn't recorded. Only her shame. She was known, too well, in fact. Not for who she was, but for what she had done. Whispers followed her like a trail of ash in a holy city. She wasn't allowed into synagogues. She wasn't greeted with smiles in the marketplace. Mothers pulled their daughters away when she passed. But she had heard that he was near. The rabbi. The one who touched lepers. Who spoke to outcasts. Who forgave sins. She clutched an alabaster jar to her chest, fragile and precious, just like her heart. Inside it was perfumed oil, expensive and rare. A symbol of all she had left. Her past earnings. Her buried dreams. Her feet moved before her mind could catch up. She wasn't invited. She wasn't wanted. But she was drawn, not by religion, but by grace. Inside, the men continued their discussions, proud and polished. The door remained open to the evening breeze, unaware that a storm of redemption was about to enter. The woman stood at the threshold, torn between fear and faith. The jar was sealed. But her heart was breaking. And as the scent of food filled the air, so did the presence of one who saw beyond appearances, to the soul beneath. She stood just beyond the edge of the torchlight, alone, breathless, and trembling. Her fingers tightened around the alabaster jar, the smooth surface slick with sweat. Her heart pounded like a drum in the silence of her decision. They knew her. Every man in that room knew of her story, even if they didn't know her name. The sinner, they called her. She had long stopped correcting them. Names had power, but labels had cages. And she had lived in hers long enough. But something about him was different. When she heard Jesus was dining nearby, her soul stirred. Not with fear. Not with shame. But with something dangerous, hope. A hope so fierce it drove her feet forward, through the narrow streets, toward the place where she didn't belong. Her mind screamed, "They will laugh at you. They will curse you. They will cast you out." But a deeper voice, gentler, yet louder, whispered, "Go anyway." So she came. Not with pride. Not with eloquence. Not with a polished prayer. She came carrying nothing but her brokenness, and a jar. That jar had once represented her value. It was perfume she had bought with wages earned in shadows. Men had admired its scent on her skin. Now it would become her offering, every drop of it. Not to attract attention, but to pour out everything she was in the presence of the one who could make her whole. As she approached the house, voices drifted through the air, laughter, debate, sarcasm. She hovered outside the entrance, heart hammering. The doorway glowed with the warm light of oil lamps. Inside, they reclined, confident in their robes and righteousness. And there he was, Jesus. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't arguing. He sat quietly, observing, as though waiting, for her. Her eyes welled with tears. Her knees weakened. But she stepped inside. No one moved to stop her, yet the air shifted. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Conversation stumbled. A woman. That woman. Uninvited. Unwelcome. But unstoppable. She didn't speak. She didn't explain. She didn't defend herself. She simply walked, straight to his feet. And suddenly, the air that had been filled with judgment now brimmed with something else. Tension. Wonder. And the beginning of worship.